So as I said, we're preparing for the Wesak Festival. There are usually 2 or 3 days of preparation. And the most important time, as we know, are the 8 minutes leading up to the full moon. So starting at 7:01 on Tuesday morning. So if you can make an effort to be in meditation at that time, and preferably in group formation, we're advised that that's the most sacred moment in the entire year.
I copied it out of the appendix, and that's what you see sometimes in New York.
Some people have said that to me, but I checked in daylight savings time. I believe it's 7:09, but I am wrong often.
This
So
is the Puerto Rico Pacific time.
okay, but you might want to check it. But
Yes.
I did check it.
Okay.
There might be a question that we might want to ask ourselves about the Wesak Festival, if we believe in the writings of the Tibetan master, who really was responsible for bringing forward this teaching. He did say in 1946 that the Wesak Festival keynote would change in 35 years, bringing us to 1981. So we're 20 years past that date now. So there might be a sense that the Buddha has decided no longer to return every year. That was the Tibetan suggestion, that the keynote would change. And he implied that the Buddha would turn his sights in another direction and perhaps take a new path. But I think the feeling that I have, and maybe some of you, is that because of the delay in the unfolding plan, things did not necessarily work out the way the Tibetan had originally predicted. So I think we're safe in assuming that the Buddha's work for our planet is not yet finished, and that he does still return. But perhaps the keynote has changed in some other way. We're not really told. But the implication was that the Buddha would no longer return.
Isn't that also true of the Christ's return?
That it might be delayed?
Yes.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. It's often said that the spiritual path, the treading of the spiritual path, can be compared to the lotus. The lotus struggles to push its way up through the muddy waters, just as each one of us struggles through many, many long series of lives to push ourselves and elevate ourselves out of the mud of physical plane living. And we all find ourselves at different stages in that path of pushing ourselves up through the mud. Some of us are at the stage of the bud of the lotus. Some of us are at the stage when many of the petals of our lotus are flowering, because indeed each one of us is a lotus. The egoic lotus, which is our soul, is really depicted as a lotus flower. And so each one of us, because of our long series of lives, have unfolded and developed at different rates. Some of us might have our heart centers more unfolded, and in this life we're working on mental development to round things out. Others of us may have worked seriously on mental development in past lives, and this life we're working on developing our heart petals. So we're all different, we all have slightly varied shades of color, but it's safe to say that we're all flowering. And when we look at our world in a more macrocosmic level, we can see that what's exciting about this time is that so many of us, so many spiritual seekers throughout the world are flowering. And that's the hope. That's the hope of this time. And in the teachings, there's an interesting revelation related to this. It's said that during the ancient civilization of Lemuria, 18 million years ago, there was a downpouring of spiritual energy from what's called the solar angels, which ignited the spark of mind in the animal men of that day. And that's what distinguished us from the animals. And that was a real turning point because the mental apparatus was set in motion. But now we're having another paralleling experience to that great spark of mind. And this is the moment, we're told, that the solar angels have been waiting for these 21 million years. They've been waiting for this time when there will be another sparking, as they call it, a fecundation of light that will come in and turn ordinary human beings into divine spiritual beings. So the first fecundation in Lemuria turned animal men into primitive thinking beings. This second downflowing from the solar angels, which is occurring now, is turning us into divinity. And so we're told this is the time that these solar angels have been waiting for all this time. So when we hear all the prophecies about 2012, good and bad, there is something to it. But it certainly isn't limited to one brief year. It's a process that's unfolding over the next period. But the particular time of importance is between now and 2025. This next 14-year Saturn cycle, half of a Saturn cycle, is the key time for all of us to take advantage collectively to come together and work and bring about more rapidly not only our own individual flowering, but the collective flowering of humanity. So it is an extremely important time. And we're told that these 3 full moons of Aries, Taurus, and Gemini are the high points. So this is just to remind us of what's going on in our planet. We see lots of clouds and mists, and we know that if we could see with the inner eye, we would see that our planet is not only surrounded with fogs and mists on the physical plane, but also on the astral and the mental planes. And this is where the real problem lies, we're told. It's not with the physical plane pollution, but with the astral and mental pollution of our planet. This is what's really holding humanity back from taking those steps, those necessary steps to bring us into the light. So all of us have an opportunity at these 3 spiritual festivals in particular to do what we can as a group to help dissipate the glamour in our world. And this was really the task which the Buddha came to undertake 2,500 years ago. His life and his work and his teaching, we're told, is primarily concerned with the dissipation of world glamour, which is the condition affecting the astral body of humanity. And he is most associated with this Taurus energy, having been born, attained enlightenment, and died under the sign of Taurus.